AITA for moving out without warning after my girlfriend called me, just a roommate. The morning I left Vanessa's house, the first thing I put in the box was not clothes or documents. It was an Italian aluminum coffee maker, the kind you put right on the stove. I had bought it at the weekend flea market, haggling with a man who sold used dishes among mountains of avocados and fresh produce. I paid $5. Vanessa always said that coffee maker was ridiculous. Why have that if there was instant coffee? Maybe that is why it was the first thing I packed, but it was not the coffee maker that got me out of that house. It was a sentence I heard on a Thursday at 11 o'clock at night, standing barefoot behind a half-open door on the cold tile of the hallway. I will get to that, but first I need you to understand what it was like living with Vanessa, because things do not break overnight. They crack slowly, like the walls of the old buildings in downtown Albuquerque after an earthquake. You see the crack and think, it will hold. Until one day it just does not hold anymore. I was 31 years old when we moved in together. We had been dating for 10 months. My name is Marcus. Yes, like everyone's grandfather in the mountain towns, and I work as a solar panel installer for a company operating in the Central Valley. I spend my days on other people's roofs, measuring inclinations, connecting inverters, sweating under a sun that in New Mexico shows no mercy, not even in February. It is a job I like because it has logic. You measure, calculate, install, and it works. People do not work like that. Vanessa was an event coordinator at a boutique hotel in Old Town, one of those places where a cocktail costs $12 and the terrace has bougainvilleas that someone waters at 5 in the morning so they look perfect when the guests come down for breakfast. Her job was to be charming with strangers 8 hours a day. She did it well, maybe too well, because when she got home the charm turned off like a switch. At first, I understood it. She is tired, dealing with people all day. It is normal that when she arrives she wants silence. But there is a difference between wanting silence and treating you like a piece of furniture someone forgot to take out when they moved. The first few months were good. We cooked together on Sundays. We went to the farmer's market to buy ribs and cheese. She taught me to make a sweet blue corn drink, which is a sweet and strange thing that tastes like someone else's childhood. I fixed the ceiling fan that had been broken for 2 years in her bedroom. We painted the living room a green that she chose and that I silently hated for 14 months. Those normal things couples do when they still see each other as people and not as functions. The change was gradual. It started with the plates. I do not mean she stopped washing them. We took turns doing that. I mean she started leaving her dirty plates on top of mine, already washed and drained, as if my order was an available surface. I moved them without saying anything. Then came the keys. Every time we went out, she assumed I carried both sets. If I forgot hers, it was my fault. Then it was the groceries. I made the list. I went to the Walmart on the east side. I carried the bags up the building stairs. I put everything away. She checked the fridge like someone inspecting an employee's work. One day, I found her talking on the phone with her friend Danielle. She was not hiding the call. She was in the living room on speakerphone, filing her nails. I was coming from the bathroom. No, it is not that I do not love him, she said with that light voice she used for the hotel guests. It is just that he is very basic, you know? Like, I do not know. He is functional, he fixes things for me, pays half, and does not get in the way, but he is not someone I would show off. I stood in the hallway. She did not see me. Danielle let out a giggle. So, he is your handy roommate. Something like that. My roommate, who also unclogs the drain. They both laughed. I walked back to the bathroom, closed the door quietly, and sat on the toilet lid. My hands were shaking, not from anger, but from something worse, from recognition, because deep down a part of me already knew that was exactly what I was to her. Only I had never heard it out loud with laughter in the background. I did not say anything that night. I went to bed, turned my back to her, and stared at the green wall she had chosen. I thought about the Italian coffee maker, how Vanessa said it was ridiculous, how everything I cared about was ridiculous, basic, or unnecessary in her vocabulary. But I did not leave that night. People do not work with the logic of solar panels. Sometimes you know something is not generating energy, and you keep connecting it, hoping the angle changes. The second time was worse. 3 weeks after the phone incident, Vanessa hosted a dinner at the house for her group of friends from the hotel. They were 5 women who worked in tourism and hospitality, all with that veneer of professional friendliness that you can spot from miles away. I prepared the snacks, guacamole, tortilla chips, a green chili sauce I learned from my Aunt Gloria in a small town outside town, and bought the tequila, a good bottle that cost $25 at a liquor store in the downtown neighborhood. Vanessa did not ask me to stay for dinner, but she did not ask me to leave either. She simply acted as if I did not exist. I sat in the bedroom with my laptop, working on a budget. From there, I heard the laughter, the clinking of the tequila shot glasses, the music someone played from their cell phone. At 11 o'clock at night, I got up for a glass of water. The hallway was dark. The living room door was half open. I stopped because I heard my name. "Marcus is like the air conditioning," said a voice I did not recognize. "You do not notice it until it is missing." Vanessa laughed. "Worse, the air conditioning at least cools you down. Marcus is more like the water jug. He is there, does his job, and when he runs out, you order another one." Another voice. "And you do not get bored?" Getting bored would be giving him too much credit. He does not bore me or amuse me. He is just there, like the water heater, but he pays half. He pays half, fixes everything that breaks, and does not cause any drama. Finding that is not easy. So, you have him for maintenance. Vanessa lowered her voice, but the hallway amplified everything. "Look, I know what I have. He is not the love of my life. He is an investment in comfort. When I find something better, well, I will see." There it was. It was not a phone joke with a friend. It was a declaration of principles in front of a jury. I was infrastructure, a water jug, a water heater. I went back to the bedroom without the glass of water. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the shadows the street light cast on the ceiling. Solar panels have a maximum power point. It is the exact point where the combination of voltage and current produces the most energy. If you operate below that point, you waste potential. If you operate above it, you burn the system. I had been operating below my maximum power point for months, and Vanessa did not even notice, because to her, I was not a system that generates energy. I was a home appliance that consumes. I did not make a scene that night. I did not go out to confront her. I did not break anything. I went to bed, breathed, and for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to think about the possibility of leaving, not as a revenge fantasy, but as an action plan. The next day, Thursday, I woke up before her, made coffee in the Italian coffee maker, the ritual she considered ridiculous, and sat in the kitchen to crunch numbers. I had savings, about $6,000 in an account Vanessa did not know about because she never asked. My salary was enough for an apartment alone only if I downgraded areas. The current apartment lease was in both our names, but the landlady, Mrs. Rosa, lived downstairs and was fond of me because I had installed a free solar water heater for her last year. I made 3 calls before 9 in the morning. The first was to my buddy Greg, who has a small apartment in the South Valley neighborhood, near the cemetery. It had been empty since his tenant left for California. "I will let you have it for $800 a month, buddy. No cosigner, no hassle. Just take care of the pots on the roof for me." The second call was to Mrs. Rosa. I explained that I was moving. She let out a long sigh and said, "Oh, my son, I saw this coming. I heard you guys from downstairs." She screams pretty, but she says ugly things. I did not ask what she had heard. It did not matter. The third call was to Verizon to change the ownership of the family plan I was paying for. 38 minutes on hold, but it was worth every second. Vanessa woke up at 10. She had the day off. She found me washing the dishes from her dinner. "There is leftover guacamole," she said without looking at me, checking her cell phone. "It is in the fridge. Can you go get a water jug? It ran out last night." The irony hit me in the stomach, but I did not say anything. "Yeah, later." I never went for that jug. I needed 5 days to organize everything. 5 days of measured smiles, short answers, acting exactly like the appliance she thought I was. Meanwhile, in the mornings, before she woke up, I took things out of the apartment in a backpack. Important documents on Monday, tools on Tuesday, winter clothes on Wednesday. Each trip ended at Greg's apartment, where I was accumulating my life in boxes organized by category, like someone installing a new system panel by panel. On Saturday, Vanessa left for a wedding in Santa Fe, 3 days away. She kissed me on the cheek as she left. The automatic gesture of someone who closes a door without checking if something was left inside. She got into an Uber with a pink suitcase and sunglasses that cost what I make in a week. I waited for the car to disappear around the corner. Then I called my brother Victor, who lives in a small town outside Albuquerque, and has a Ram truck that smells like wet dog and fertilizer. He arrived in 40 minutes with 2 empty moving blankets and a military operation attitude. Everything he asked from the door. All of my stuff. And hers. Intact. I am not like that. Victor looked at me with that expression older brothers have when they want to say, "I told you so." But they hold it back. All right then. We started with the bedroom. In 3 hours, the apartment was divided into 2 categories, hers and empty. My side of the closet cleared, my bathroom shelf clean, my books, my tools, my document box, the Italian coffee maker, the clay griddle my mom gave me when I left the small town, the bedroom curtains I bought because the ones she had were torn, everything in Victor's truck. Tied down with rope as if we were moving a flea market stand. Before leaving, I cleaned the kitchen, not for her, but for me, out of habit, because you do not leave a place dirty, even if that place hurt you. I left the keys on the kitchen counter next to a note I wrote on the back of a Circle K receipt. The note read, "Your roomie found another place. Good luck with the water heater." Victor read it over my shoulder and let out a dry laugh. Damn, I did not say anything. I closed the door with a click that sounded louder than it should have. Greg's apartment in the South Valley was small. Living room, kitchen, and dining room in a single space. A bedroom with a window facing an interior courtyard where a lady on the first floor hung clothes at all hours, and a bathroom with a water heater that sounded like a wounded animal every time you turned on the hot water. But it was mine, well, rented, but inhabited only by me. And that made it mine in a way the apartment with Vanessa never was. That first night, I slept 9 hours straight. I do not remember the last time that had happened to me. Sunday afternoon, while I was unpacking boxes and arranging books on a wooden shelf Greg had left behind, my phone started vibrating. Vanessa. I looked at the screen the way you look at a broken traffic light, with distrust and a little curiosity. I did not answer. It vibrated 3 more times. Then a text message arrived. "Marcus, what is going on? I got here and none of your stuff is here. Were we robbed?" She thought we were robbed. That was her first hypothesis. Not that I had left out of dignity, but that someone had broken in to steal my things, because my things were not valuable enough for me to decide to take them. Only a thief would do that. I answered with a text. I was not robbed. I left. A 3-minute silence. Then the call. "What do you mean you left?" Her voice had that texture of someone who still does not get the joke. "Where? Why did you not tell me?" "There was no need. I am nothing serious." "Am I?" Another, longer silence. I could hear the street noise behind her, the honk of cars, a distant radio. "Did you hear the conversation with the girls?" "I heard enough." "Marcus, that was a joke. We were drinking. You know how Danielle gets. She exaggerates everything and I play along. It was not serious. The water jug was not serious either, right? Nor the water heater, nor the air conditioning." "Oh, stop. Do not be dramatic. Come back and we will talk about it." "Where are you?" "In my apartment." "Your apartment is here." "Not anymore." I hung up. I turned off the phone. I finished arranging the books. I put the Italian coffee maker on the stove and waited for the coffee to rise with that dull gurgling that sounds like rewarded patience. I poured myself a cup in a clay mug I bought at the flea market last month. The coffee was bitter and perfect. I turned on the phone the next morning. 17 messages from Vanessa, 4 missed calls from Danielle, and a voicemail from a number I did not recognize. The messages from Vanessa followed a predictable narrative arc: disbelief, anger, threats to make me feel guilty, performative sadness, and back to anger. Danielle's were variations of "do not be such an exaggerator," and "she loves you in her own way." The voicemail was from Bryce, a guy from Vanessa's friend group who I had seen at 3 parties and with whom I had exchanged exactly 14 words in my life. "Hey, man, Vanessa is very thrown off. She says you left just like that. Do not you think you at least owed her an explanation? We are all a little worried." Everyone was worried. The committee of people who knew me as the guy who unclogs the drain was now worried. I deleted the message and went to work. At the office, my boss Gus, a 62-year-old man who looks carved out of desert wood and only speaks when he has something worth saying. He saw me arrive and nodded. "You look different." I did not ask what he meant. I did my work. 3 installations that week. One at a rural school near a town outside the city, another at a restaurant on Central Avenue, and the third at a private house in the foothills, One of those with a huge garden and a pool where the owner offers you iced tea but never invites you to sit down. On Wednesday, Vanessa showed up at my work. She was waiting for me on the sidewalk outside, leaning against the wall, wearing a white dress that contrasted with the gray facade of the industrial building. She looked good. She always looked good. That was not the problem. "We have to talk," she said before I even opened my mouth. "Talk? No. We're going to get something to eat here. My treat. I am not hungry. Marcus, please, give me 20 minutes. I looked at her. Her eyes were a little red, but her makeup was flawless. Calculated effort. Filtered vulnerability. 10 minutes. Right here. Her jaw clenched, but she nodded. We sat on a concrete bench in front of a mechanic's shop. The noise of a compressor in the background, the smell of burnt oil. Not romantic at all. Perfect. "I made a mistake," she started. "What I said that night was horrible. I was showing off in front of the girls, acting tough, the one who does not depend on anyone. It is a mask I wear at work, and sometimes I forget to take it off. It was not a mask, it was an executive summary. Do not do this to me. You know I love you. I know you like that I pay half, that I fix what breaks, and that I do not ask questions. That is not loving. That is a maintenance contract." Vanessa bit her lip. I saw how she was putting together the next sentence, how she measured it, how she decorated it before letting it out. "I can change. Give me a month. Let us go to counseling. I will stop seeing Danielle if that bothers you. Whatever it takes. I do not want you to stop seeing anyone. I want you to not have to invent a version that embarrasses you when you talk about me with someone. You do not embarrass me. You told 5 people that I am a water jug." It was a stupid analogy. Analogies reveal what direct words hide. She stayed quiet. The compressor at the shop turned off, and for a moment all you could hear was the wind dragging trash along the sidewalk. A stray dog looked at us from the corner with that wise indifference that desert dogs have. "So, is it final?" she asked. "It is consistent. What am I supposed to do now? The apartment is incredibly expensive for me alone. Mrs. Rosa already asked me if I am going to renew the lease. That is no longer my problem. And just like that, over a year together, and you leave over some jokes. 10 months dating and 14 months living together. That is not 4 years, and they were not jokes. They were the truth that you thought I did not deserve to hear." She stood up. Her eyes were moist, but her posture was straight. Vanessa never breaks down in public. It is part of the training. "You are going to regret this," she said with a voice that tried to be firm but cracked at the edges. "Maybe, but I will regret it in my own apartment, with my own coffee maker, and without anyone comparing me to a water jug." She walked away quickly, her heels clicking on the concrete like a furious typewriter. She did not look back. I stayed sitting on the bench until Gus came out and stood next to me without saying anything. He lit a cigarette, took 3 long drags, and said, "The sun rises for everyone, but not everyone puts their panels where they should." He went back into the building. Gus is like that. He drops 1 sentence a day and it always lands where it needs to land. The weeks that followed had that weird texture of beginnings, uncomfortable and hopeful at the same time. Greg's apartment smelled musty the first few days until I opened all the windows and let the Albuquerque air, that air that smells of piñon, tortillas, and a little bit of smog, carry away the old. I painted the walls white, no green. I bought a small table at a flea market in the South Valley for $20. I sanded its legs and varnished it. It turned out uneven, but honest, like the things you make without asking for permission. I started running in the mornings. I would go out at 6, when downtown is still half asleep, and the only ones on the street are the ladies opening the tortilla shops and the dogs prowling for their first bite of the day. I ran down Central Avenue towards a local park, did 2 laps around the park, and came back sweating, my legs shaking and my head clear. I did not think about Vanessa during those runs. I thought about inverters, budgets, the house in the rural area, where the school principal told me that thanks to the panels his students could now use the computers without the power going out every hour. Vanessa tried 2 more times. The first was a long, letter-like message where she mixed apologies with reproaches. "I admit I was cruel, but you are also to blame for never saying what you feel." The second was through Danielle, who called me on a Friday night with a tequila voice and good intentions. "Hey, Marcus, Vanessa is really suffering. Do not you think you are overreacting? We all say ugly things about our partners when we are among friends. It is normal. Normal does not have to be acceptable," I told her. Oh, stop being so philosophical. It is a relationship, not a TED Talk. Exactly, it is a relationship, and in relationships, words matter. I hung up, not with rage, with that calm that comes when you have already made the decision and your body finally aligns with your head. That week, Victor came to Albuquerque to bring me a box with things from my childhood that my mom found while cleaning the room that was mine in the small town. Inside, there was a picture of my dad in the cornfield, an elementary school notebook with the crooked handwriting of a boy who still believed the world was fair, and a wooden top that smelled like old cedar. Victor sat on the floor of my new apartment because I still did not have chairs and stared at the box. Do you remember when Dad used to take us to the field and make us carry sacks of corn cobs? He said. I was like 9 years old. The sack weighed more than me. And you never complained. That is your problem, Marcus. You never complain. You carry and carry until your back snaps. He gave me a long look. He did not repeat it, as if verifying that the sentence was true. Then he got up, went to the corner store, and came back with 2 cold Coors beers and a bag of peanuts. We drank them in silence, sitting on the floor, our backs leaning against the white wall I painted myself. We did not need to say anything else. Victor went back to the small town that night in the truck that smelled like wet dog, and I stayed with the wooden top on the shelf next to the Italian coffee maker. 2 objects from different worlds that now shared the same space, like the parts of my life that were finally stopping their fight against each other. Life in the South Valley put itself together. The lady on the first floor, Mrs. Caroline, gave me homemade tamales on Saturdays because you can tell you do not eat well, young man. Greg stopped by every 2 weeks to check his pots, and we stayed talking on the roof until the sky turned orange over the Sandia Mountains. He told me his wife left him 8 years ago, and that the first few months he thought he was going to die. But you do not die from that, buddy. You die from staying where you are not wanted. At work, Gus offered me to coordinate a new project, solar installations for rural communities in the high desert region. It meant traveling 3 or 4 days a week, sleeping in towns where cell phone signal is a distant memory, and eating whatever was available. I accepted without thinking. The first community was a small town called Willow Creek. We arrived in a truck loaded with panels and tools via a dirt road that seemed designed to destroy kidneys. The town was at the top of a hill with wind blowing so hard I had to tie my cap down with a bandana. The town mayor, a 50-year-old woman with braids and practical boots, welcomed me with a plate of beans and a sentence that left me thinking for 3 days. Here, electricity is not a luxury, it is dignity. Dignity. That word stuck to me like the smell of pinion on clothes after a ceremony, because that was exactly what I had recovered by leaving Vanessa's house. Not freedom, not revenge, not pride, dignity. The simplest and hardest version of all the things a man can lose without realizing it. In Willow Creek, I slept 3 nights in a simple room next to the mayor's house. The bed was a cot with a wool blanket that itched, but kept you warm like a grandmother's hug. At 4 in the morning, I would wake up to the sound of chickens and the crackling of firewood in some neighbor's kitchen. I had blue corn porridge for breakfast and freshly made tortillas that had a different taste, a different weight in your hand, as if food was different when it comes from the land you walk on. The installation took a week. I worked with 3 young men from the town who had never seen a solar panel up close, but they learned fast with that practical intelligence that people who know how to do a lot with a little have. One of them, Frankie, a 17-year-old kid with bricklayer hands and engineer eyes, asked me on the 3rd day, "And why are you alone?" I told him the truth, because someone taught me that being alone is better than being extra. Frankie nodded, as if that were the most logical thing in the world. At that age, some truths enter without resistance. I spent 6 months like that, traveling between towns in the high desert and the southern region, installing panels, training the locals so they could do basic maintenance, sleeping in borrowed rooms where sometimes the mattress was a simple pad and the pillow a folded blanket. And every night, before going to sleep, I took out my notebook and wrote, not a diary, more like notes, things I saw, phrases I heard, ideas to improve the installations. I had never written before. Vanessa would have mocked me. Now you are a poet. But Vanessa was not there, and the notebook did not mock anything. I met Rachel in a diner in a small town where we both ordered red chili enchiladas at the same time. She was a rural teacher, one of those who drives an hour to get to her school, and carries textbooks in a backpack that weighs more than some of her students. She had a laugh that did not ask for permission or an audience. It simply came out like water from a spring that needs no pipes. We ate together 3 times before I dared to ask for her number. It was not a rebound. It was not a trophy. It was a person who, when I told her I work with solar panels, asked me, "And do you like it?" No one had ever asked me that. Vanessa knew what I did for a living, but never asked if I liked it. For her, my work was the source of half the deposit, not a calling. With Rachel, things went slow. We saw each other when our routes coincided, which was every 2 or 3 weeks. We talked on the phone when there was a signal. She sent me pictures of the drawings her students made, and I sent her pictures of the sunsets from the roofs where I worked. Once she sent me a 2-minute audio where all you could hear was the wind on her town's hill. "To keep you company," she said. I saved it. I still have it. I knew about Vanessa like you know about distant earthquakes, by the vibration that arrives late. Mrs. Rosa told me she did not renew the lease and moved to a smaller apartment in a different neighborhood. Danielle unfollowed me on Instagram, which was her version of closing a chapter. Bryce sent me a message months later. "Hey man, I respect your decision. Vanessa is having a hard time, but well, to each their own." I did not answer, not out of resentment, but because I had nothing to add. A year after leaving, I was on the roof of Greg's apartment, watering the pots that were now a little bit mine too, when my phone rang. Vanessa's number. I hesitated for a second. I answered, "Marcus." Her voice sounded different, lower, without the professional veneer. "Tell me." I wanted to apologize. Not like the one from a year ago, which was just so you would come back. A real one. "I behaved very badly with you. Not just that night, the whole time. I treated you like you were dispensable, and you were not." I sat on an overturned bucket. The afternoon sun hit the back of my neck. "Thanks for saying it," I replied. "Are you okay?" "I am okay. Are you with someone?" "Yes." Long silence. I could hear her breathing. "She is a good person. She is a good person. I am glad." Her voice cracked a little on the last syllable, but she quickly pulled herself together. "Take care, Marcus." "You too, Vanessa." We hung up. I stayed on the roof until the sky turned that purple that only exists in the Albuquerque valleys, when the sun hides behind the mountains and the whole city seems to breathe slower. Greg's pots were blooming, some purple bougainvilleas that would not stop growing, messy and stubborn, like the things that grow when nobody tells them what they should look like. I went downstairs, put the Italian coffee maker on the stove, and waited for the gurgling. $5. That is what the coffee maker cost, $5, and the decision to take what was mine. Sometimes the cheapest things are the ones that are worth the most, and the most expensive ones are the ones that charge you without you realizing it. Before you tell me I was too cold, let me put something on the table. Vanessa was not a monster. She was a woman who learned that to survive in her work environment, she had to project an image of absolute independence, that she did not need anyone. And she kept that armor on in the house. There are people who confuse strength with cruelty and do not even notice. It does not justify it, but it explains it. Now, that does not change how I felt, because at the end of the day intentions matter, but words leave a mark. And when someone reduces you to a function in front of other people, it does not matter if they were acting or if they truly felt it. The damage is already done. Comment. I've been reflecting on this story quite a bit lately. It reminded me how important it is to protect your own self-respect. You deserve to be valued for who you are, not just for what you do for others. Setting healthy boundaries is one of the kindest things you can do for yourself. Sometimes, choosing your peace means finding the courage to walk away. Taking responsibility for your happiness is the first step toward real healing. Never forget that you are worthy of relationships built on genuine respect. Be gentle with yourself while you learn to choose better. Surround yourself with people who lift you up rather than make you feel small. You truly deserve a calm and respectful life, and I believe you can create it. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.